How did your high school crush turn out as an adult? I remember walking up to her and asking if we could talk in private, and she said you can say what you need in front of everyone. Her group of friends were all around. So I asked if she wanted to go on a date. She burst out laughing and said yeah, no, shoot was rough, man. Looked her up last year and she's a cage fighter now. What? My only girlfriend in high school was my crush. Her mum banned her from dating me after about a year because my girlfriend admitted to her mum that we were fooling around. This was about 20 years ago. She's still living with her mum, no kids, and as far as I know never again dated seriously after her mum broke us up. Still has the same job from high school too. It's like her mum went way into protective overdrive and my former girlfriend never grew up. Mine was my best friend. She turned out to be a pedophile. She always liked younger guys. Like when she was 17 she had a 13-year-old boyfriend, which was weird, but we were kids and I didn't think about it much. Turns out she continued to like younger teens as she grew into her 20s and 30s. Found her on Tinder. She said I was hot. Pointed out that I was that loser she used to know in high school. Had a big laugh. Been a little over a year. Now we send each other memes and hang out occasionally when the pandemic isn't being rich. She's still hot, successful and wealthy entrepreneur, and married someone with the same first name as me and who quit his job to brew beer. I crushed on her for a bit. Didn't think she was interested so I dated others. Then come to find out she crushed on me senior year. I was too dumb and blind. We connected freshman year of college. She wrote me letters, and by the time I wised up she had moved on. No one to blame but myself. They both ended up as great guys. One has a huge family and is a minister. The other only has one child and is a college professor. Both married nice people and are happy. They were really good guys in high school and ended up being really good adults. I've got both of them on Facebook and we keep in touch peripherally as we stayed friends over the years. I was a freshman and had a crush on a senior. To add to it, she was a cheerleader and her brother played QB for the football team and got a college scholarship. She showed up at a football game a couple of years later with a baby in tow. She's married now and back in her hometown. That's about all I know. An insanely talented molecular biology researcher at Boston. And she's still insanely attractive. I don't know about you guys, but I had way too many crushes in high school. My first high school crush who sat next to me in freshman year English was a really cute punk rock girl and she's gone on to become an incredibly hot fitness model. Haha, my husband. Our first marriages didn't work out and we reconnected after our divorces. If only I would have confessed I had a crush on him in high school, might have saved myself a lot of trouble. LOL. Became a professional cheerleader, died of breast cancer at 34. Googling names from high school is crazy. My friend's high school crush was Tom Holland. Like they went to the same school. I never made a move in high school. About 7 years after graduating, I saw her on social media and said what the hell and asked her out. We've been dating for about 2 years and I'm about to pop the big question. I briefly worked with mine and didn't realize it was her until I left for another job. She looked almost unrecognizable, but it was 15 years after I last saw her. She's married with a couple of kids now, so pretty standard life I guess. Ended up committing suicide a few years after high school. She was a teacher and got caught having an affair with a female student. Hot douche who doesn't really do much except go to the gym. To be fair, that's how he was in high school. I just liked it back then. She passed away our senior year, 6 months after she agreed to marry me after we graduated. Sad face. She ended up getting knocked up by a freshman shortly after we graduated. Overdosed and died last year. I got to see him before he was taken off life support with a really good mutual friend we shared. Organ donor too. It was surreal seeing him dwarfed by all these machines. He had one of the largest hearts I've ever come across. Still a 10 for looks. I'm sure she kept on as the amazing, kind person she is. She moved to another country, speaks multiple languages and is more successful than I imagined. She seems happy, but we haven't talked since the time I told her how I felt about her about 20 years ago. Went on to be a teenage model for hair products, graduated from Yale, toured Europe, opened her own successful ceramics company that is sold worldwide and is often written up in magazines. Makes me feel like shoot every time I think of her. Going to an all-boys school sucks for having realistic crushes. However, ran into one of the teachers years later and she still looked bellissima. There was a girl I really admired for a while. She didn't really give me the time of day after freshman year though. She was co-valedictorian and hugged me as I crossed the stage at graduation, and no one else got one. I'm still really confused about that 6 years later. She went on to med school and is either married or at least engaged to a guy she met there. Overall she's doing really well, and I'm happy for her. I had several. One of them is still a close friend, and he became a primary care doctor. He also officiated my wedding. I have no idea what happened to another one. We didn't really have overlapping friend groups and she doesn't do social media. One of them is a math professor now, so that's pretty cool. My biggest crush in high school was my longtime neighbor, but it also fizzled out pretty quickly after we went to homecoming together. We're still good friends, and our families still keep in touch. He's also the guy who introduced me to my husband. You made me check and she is actually a very successful artist and an art teacher at a renowned university in France. She even got decorated for her work. Chevalier des Arts et des Lettres. My high school ex randomly sent me a text years after we split up that went, "I know you don't like metal, but I thought you'd like this," and a link to a clarinet cover of a metal song I played in HS. Little did he know that I hated playing clarinet and I was now a total metalhead. I had 3. 1 from the first 2 years and 2 from the last 2. The first one is now F2M trans, who walked to Colorado to join a cult commune. He is now in Arizona recording rap albums. The second girl moved to Florida and lives in a swamp. She periodically hits me up to tell me she misses me, how dumb I was that I didn't follow through, that we should get married. The third was a missionary. She wasn't really into it once she grew up, came back home and I introduced her to one of my closest friends. They've been married for 15 years. 0/3. Just checking in to confirm that I was no one's high school crush. Carry on. She turned out great. She married me. We actually met in kindergarten. One I don't keep track of at all. I'm not sure what she's up to. The other I married. She turned out awesome. She was aware then, over 30 years ago, but it was unrequited. We've been in casual contact through Facebook for the past several years, and once before that my wife, at the time, and I had her and her husband over for dinner. From what I can tell, she's grown into a person I probably would have been happy with. It's nice to see my high school perspective got a few things right. I think we'd be good friends if we lived closer. She appears to be living a good life with her husband and family. With my second wife, I'm happier than I could have ever imagined. Life worked out well. Still cute as heck. One of the kindest and most sensitive people I know, and still one of my best friends 15 years later. He's also recently divorced. His wife was gay, but needed time and support to come to terms with it. And now he and I are slowly testing the waters. Smiley face. What started as a crush has matured into a deep and rich friendship. And, however it may unfold, I'm so grateful to have that relationship in my life. Pretty good. Seems to have her life together, although she had a few setbacks. She's gone back to uni since job prospects in her field kinda sucked, but seems to be really enjoying it. She's dating me though, so clearly her judgment sucks. She worked with the Obama administration. I forgot in what capacity. Got married to some politician's son. Don't remember, don't care to look up. She is happy and that's the only thing that matters. Oh, she was also our school's valedictorian. She was so busy with her job she could not organize a high school reunion, so that's a plus. I wasn't head over heels for her, I admired her, but I knew I wasn't for her. Then there's another crush of mine. We ran into each other years after graduation at grocery store. After talking, I asked her out to dinner at my house. I pull out all the stops, I buy rainbow trout fillets and make all the fixings. 6:30 rolls around, I open the door and who the hell is this man behind her? Oh, this is my fiance, she tells, neglected to tell me about me. Turns out they wanted to sell me on some MLM thing. She tried to cross the threshold, I put my arm out and asked them politely to leave. I turned away from the door and had my saddest meal I ever ate. Very well. He joined the military and served for a number of years. Was in after Vietnam and out before the Gulf War, so I'm not sure if he actually saw much active duty, and then settled in Korea where he trained in Taekwondo and did a lot of professional fighting, and won a lot of awards. Attained the rank of Grandmaster and returned to the US and opened a very successful school that specializes in TKD and Hapkido. Has opened additional locations, and is currently looking to open one in our old hometown. I imagine that will happen post-COVID. I had a few in high school. One ended up moving away after sophomore year and no one knew why. She reached out to me when I had a mental breakdown online and said that she could understand what I was going through. Some fricked up shoot happened to her, though she never said what specifically. I didn't ask further because it wasn't my business to pry. I'm not sure how she is now. Another got super hot after high school and she did a degree in science. Again, not sure where she is now, but I think she's doing alright. And the third works at a bank. We ended on bad terms. Partially my fault. I found out she was making fun of me behind my back and had done so 4 months beforehand, so I sent her an angry message. Haven't seen her since then.